About jogging? Whoa, man,
Well-
the glitch just scared me to death.
That's because we were just talking shit about raw eggs. The raw egg gods are onto us.
The raw egg gods are also computer audio glitch gods.
Glitch.
Yeah, they share those responsibilities. Yeah, raw eggs and glitches. That's what I'm in charge of.
Computer audio. Holy shit. Computer audio glitch gods. Now, if that is an acronym, it'd be CAGs. CAGs,
Yeah,
computer audio glitch gods.
Yeah, like Kegels.
Yeah, the Kegel muscle. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it sure is.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I don't know. My anatomy and science is pretty it's low brow.
Well, yeah, it's the pelvic floor for muscles. It supports the uterus, bladder, small intestine, and rectum.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is your science class for the week. Brought to you
And it starts
by Accelerativ Thrust.
Yeah.
My name is Dan.
My name is Erik.
And we both have PhDs in science now, apparently.
I have PTSD in science.
I have more PTSD in math than I do science, but science for sure. Yeah, for sure. So speaking of, we mentioned this thing called music earlier.
We did.
I wanted to bring up an interesting thing real quick before we get into our review segments. Have you ever watched Stranger Things on Netflix?
Yes. I sure have.
So have you seen the latest season yet?
I watched through the middle with the big scene, running up that hill scene.
Yep. So like part one.
It was like really long and really I found that episode to be unbearably serious.
Yeah,
it was like every conversation was just, I'm gonna miss you so much.
Yeah.
It's like Jesus.
And they could have done so much more with the long-haired 80s metal guy character that they introduced.
That was on the run.
The one that was on the run. And anyway, so in part 2,
spoiler alerts.
Well, this isn't really a spoiler at this point. I mean, if anybody listening, if you really want to like skip through this, go ahead if you feel. But this has been reported.
Just skip all the way to the end. You'll enjoy it a lot lot
I was talking about the entire podcast, by the way,
just folks. Turn it off now.
But this has been reported heavily at this point. That if you haven't even seen it, like I haven't seen part 2 of the new season.
Yeah, I guess I haven't either.
But I guess there's a scene where to summon or defeat the big monster, I guess that he starts playing Master of Puppets.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
So you heard about this. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not really a spoiler alert. Like, I mean, I guess it is if you care that much about it, but
in case you haven't heard, there's this band called Metallica.
Yeah, there's this band.
And they just put out this song called Master of Puppets.
So there are actually memes being shared by people that are like,
oh jeez,
it's just so ridiculous. Like, I guess supposedly, I don't believe this is real in 2022. By the way, there are people that are apparently criticizing the kids that are heard Master of Puppets for the first time because of Stranger Things. And they're like, oh, here's Master of Puppets on Stranger Things. Goes and buys Saint Anger. And I'm like,
boomer tape.
Really? Are we really going to like, I mean, like at this point, it's so ridiculous to be like that level of gatekeeping is so like, insane to me, like at this point. And it's not like Metallica is like, people are acting like Metallica is some sort of obscure metal band again or something. Like,
Right.
oh yeah, this really, really cool underground band called Metallica has this song called Master of Puppets, and it's just like all these freaking posers are getting into them.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, I mean, I don't know if maybe you like traveled back in time to 86,
Right.
but the Black Album came out at one point in time already.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like, yeah, they're cool. I really like their early stuff. I feel like that was said first about Metallica.
Right.
They're the original. I'm into their early stuff. Like that gatekeeping has been happening forever, but now it's just like lame and sad. It's just like, what are you protecting? Your memories as a 12-year-old?
Right, exactly.
Let new 12-year-olds have new memories. But the people really don't want new listeners. Like, that's mine. Don't mess with it.
Yeah.
I think it's really dumb.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, and that just kind of goes like with the whole thing when people were railing against like selling out, like Green Day or something, know? And it's just like, what? You don't want one of your favorite bands in the universe to be successful?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know. It's always been silly to me.
So, but
I can't say that. I have to actually say, because there might be a few people that knew the 19-year-old me.
Mm-hmm.
And the 19-year-old me was pretty douchey about some stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I was into Fugazi first.
Yeah. I mean, we're all like that. But the thing is, I was actually into all of it before anyone else.
So I feel like I interrupted you from starting to say something. Do you remember? Were you going to say
Metallica.
Something?
I was going to say that people were upset because it like made them chart or something. It moved them up some like the Billboard thing or something.
Yeah. Are you talking about because of Stranger Things?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And also, but even more, what's interesting about that, it's like number 6 on like the most streamed Spotify songs now. But you know what number 1 is?
Is it still Kate Bush?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you know why that is?
Because of Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is controlling the music industry right now, folks.
Yeah, that's all right. As long as your music came out in 1985, you're set.
So,
or 7.
I need to find a way.
What year is it in that show now?
What year? Oh, I think the show is set in 86.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So I need to find a way to lie to Stranger Things and tell them that my music came out in 1986.
Well, they already made it though.
Well, but there's gonna be another season.
Well, then you'll have to do 1987.
Yeah, 1987. This came out the same year as Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Oh man, good record.
It is a good record.
I watched an interview with Jay Mascis yesterday, and they asked him who his big influences were.
Yeah.
And he totally didn't say CC DeVille.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't understand it. I don't understand why Jay Mascis acts like he's not an 80s hair metal shredder.
Okay. So check this out. I remember you saying that a while ago on an episode that it was the hair metal episode. You were like saying that CC DeVille is one of your favorite guitarists.
Yeah, he's great.
Jay Mascis totally sounds like he was influenced by CC DeVille. Well, all right. So I was talking to our enemy, Chuck, the other day.
Yeah, shitty Chuck.
And Chuck said that. He was like, we were talking, because I've been delving into the major label Dinosaur Jr. 90s catalog lately.
Yeah.
So I just listened to Green Mind and Without a Sound.
Yeah.
And Chuck said something about, so is it me or... are you listening to Dinosaur Jr. and saying that this could totally be poison? And I was like, what? I was like, Erik said the same thing. Erik said that Jay Mascis' guitar playing sounds just like CC DeVille. I honestly did not see it until the first track off of Without a Sound.
Yeah.
There's a guitar solo the guy does for literally like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this sounds oddly familiar. I was like, wait a minute. This is the same tone that I'm hearing on Every Rose Has a... I was like, oh my God, they're right.
Well, I'm right. Chuck just stole that idea from me. I mean,
well, okay, you're right. Yeah, Chuck steals everything.
I mean, he knows it.
Chuck steals everything and takes over everything. It's horrible. Just
I'm surprised he hasn't taken over this podcast somehow.
Yeah, I know.
Not to say it wouldn't be better.
yeah. It's not like it would improve things. In fact, if you want to hear a worse version, come on over, Chuck. Oh, wait, I shouldn't encourage him. Sorry. But yeah, CC DeVille and J Mask. So who did he say was his influences?
Oh man, I don't even remember.
The one thing
I'm too mad about dissing CC. Wow. Yeah. Anyway.
See, this is why you need to be a journalist, because then you would just be like, bullshit. Yeah. Like to every answer, bullshit. And he's like,
bullshit, Jay.
It's a bunch of bullshit shit.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time that I walked by Jay Mascis and talked to him? Did I ever tell you that story?
No. What was he playing at Gabe's or something?
No, it was in Boston. And
you were in Boston.
Yeah, and he played at Berkeley. Like this weird thing that like Fred Armisen was there. And then Jay Mascis came out and played songs with him. I don't know, it was weird. But then later in the night, we had left the hotel and we walked out and Jay Mascis was walking up the street.
Wow.
And I said, I said, hey, good show, Jay. But what actually came out of my mouth was, a good show, Jay. And my voice broke. And he was just like, thanks. And then my wife laughed at me for a long time. Pretty much every time we listen to Dinosaur Jr., she still says, a good show, Jay.
And I don't.
It's a stupid story.
I'm just thinking of like what would happen if you saw Jay-Z walking down the street.
Good show, Jay-Z.
Jay Mascis talks exactly like how he sings. Like exactly like how he sings. Yeah, I don't want that to sound like I'm making fun of the guy, but I don't know. He talks in such a like, you know how some people talk? Like I heard Jeremy Enoch from Sunny Day Real Estate talk, and I'm like, this is the guy who sings for Sunny Day Real Estate.
Right.
Like he sounds like a redneck when he talks. I'm like, you know, and I don't mean that in any condescending way, but he sounds like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't sound like he sings at all. But Jay Mascis,
I know what you mean. He's like, oh, everybody, how's it going? Like that. I'm in Sunny Day Real Estate.
Got this new album out called Diary. It's got a song called 7 on it. Jay Mascis talks exactly like how he sings, and it's weird. It freaks me out whenever I see a Jay Mascis interview. Because of that.
He's pretty low energy,
extremely low energy, and I don't know if that's for any particular reason or if he just doesn't care. Either way, Dinosaur Jr. is
the ultimate slacker.
Either way, Dinosaur Jr. is quickly becoming one of my that's another band. Like I am those kids getting into Metallica for the first time only with Dinosaur Jr.
Nice.
Yeah, it's weird. I never, for some reason, I never gave them a chance.
I really liked them growing up, and they really had a pretty big impact on my music and how I approach music. Like seriously, like where you been, just how things go into like, especially like what else is new, with the string part and the timpanis and everything. Like I hadn't really heard that in like rock music up to that point. And also just how sad it all is and how vulnerable J Mascis is, like, and how it's still super aggressive rock at the same time. All of it. It's great.
Yeah, especially those first 3 albums. I can hear how, like, Doug Marsh from Built to Spill said that one of his biggest influences was always Dinosaur Jr. And it's like, I can totally see how Dinosaur Jr. was like the template for like Built to Spill, Modest Mouse, who they're like, they're not exactly punk rock, but, you know, they're a little too sad to be punk rock, you know, but like they have punk rock flair in their music at the same time. Same with Nirvana. It makes total sense that Nirvana were influenced by Dinosaur, you know?
For sure.
But yeah.
It's
Crazy stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to talk. I wanted to make a little bit of a, I guess, opinion piece about the whole Metallica Stranger Things thing. It's like, if you, I guess basically like my thing is like, if you're old like me, don't be that douchebag who makes fun of kids for like getting into like,
don't hate kids.
Like, dude, I'm actually ecstatic whenever I, you know, and I've ran into a couple of like 20, 21-year-olds who are like, it's like they're into like Del the Funky Homo Sapien or something. It's like how many 20-year-olds are into like Deltron? You know what I mean? Most of the time, you know, like rap is, you know, whatever's current. And that's great. That's fine. It should be whatever's current. But it is nice too if they're also delving into some of the history of it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that does excite me, where I think it's weird to just be like, what the fuck, man? You know?
Yeah.
And even if Saint Anger is their first Metallica album, so what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, I guess I would rather.
Yeah, as long as it's not Load.
Yeah. Well, the Load is way better than Saint Anger, dude. I'll go back there. But Saint Anger, though, even if it is their worst, even if it's Lulu, well, I don't know. Maybe that's where I'll draw the line.
And then they'll just hate Lou Reed too. God, old people music sucks.
Yeah, what the hell is this Metallica shit they're playing on Stranger Things? Yeah. My God.
This old people shit.
It's like, so what do you think of that Metallica CD you bought? I don't know. That singer's a little weird. He doesn't really sing so much as it just talks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I checked out some of his solo work. It doesn't sound like metal at all.
Yeah. He even had a record called Metal Machine Music. There's not one bit of metal on it.
That would be so funny if people thought that Lou Reed was the singer of Metallica because of that one album. That would be so funny. I wouldn't correct them either. I'd let them walk through life thinking Lou Reed sings for Metallica. Like, I just think that would be such an interesting existence.
The Metallica Underground.
The Metallica Underground.
That is a disgusting word to say.
Yeah,
Metallic Underground.
Yeah, it is.
Underground.
Underground. Yeah, that's.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah, let's move on to some record reviews. let's do that. What do you say? What do you say?
For sure.
If you're really into something that sounds like a cross between noise rock, black metal, or grindcore, excuse me. Also, if you like the idea of something that sounds like a cross between Amphetamine Reptile Records, anything on Amphetamine Reptile Records, Dark Throne, Napalm Death, the Melvins, Electric Wizard, with a bunch of high and low vocals, more high than low, but there are some low vocals. So this right here is just a little blast of energy, man. It's a very short record. It's from a band called Shapeshifter, who are from Japan, which I am increasingly finding out Japan has the best like noisy rock releases, it seems like. They have the best hardcore punk. They have the best grindcore. And there's always been something very spazzy about I don't know if it's Japanese culture, but this kind of stuff is almost mainstream in their culture sometimes. That's kind of what I've observed. Anybody who may know more about Japanese metal and culture, you know, feel free to comment and let me know. But it seems like they have more of an appreciation for this stuff just overall than here in the US, which is saying a lot because there is actually a lot of appreciation for this stuff in the US as well, especially now more than ever. But yeah, this is just a very chaotic, very quick, but also fairly experimental. I would just call this like a punch to the gut, man. It's just basically here and out. I think it's less than 20 minutes long. There's, what is it, like 12 songs or something total? 11 songs. I don't know. I should know more about the releases I'm reviewing, but it's fairly experimental. It doesn't deviate too far from the formula. I mean, it starts off with a noise like intro that is just, it literally is just like pure noise. But then it goes into, just crazy black metal riffs, crazy grindcore riffs. The drumming is excellent. All the musicianship is just awesome, and it's tight as hell. There's a very short, funky jam at the beginning of the song Rust that could be on a 311 song. I mean, it would not sound out of place on a 311 album, which totally throws you off because like the 3 songs before it have nothing like that going on at all. But then all of a sudden it goes into just straight up black metal that it could totally be on something from Dark Throne or Mayhem. And then it goes into like this chaotic noise outro that is just, it sounds like, the end of like old school grunge songs where they would just let the feedback ring out for like 30 minutes or 30 seconds at the end of the song. And it all does this in a matter of 90 seconds. So it's like a 3-part song in 90 seconds. And that's really how this record seems to be designed. It's got some great noise squalls that, I mean, they honestly sound like lasers. I can't tell if they're using, I'm assuming it's guitar effects because I don't think there's any synths on this thing. But at times they almost make the guitar sound like a synth. Like there's almost like this is going to sound ridiculous, but almost like a science metal aspect to it or something.
For sure.
Very experimental. And when I say science metal, I don't mean like really mathy, although it is kind of mathy in some parts, because you could see this group being on like a bill with Dillinger Escape Plan or something. But I wouldn't say that the music itself, when it comes to like structure, would be like mathy or anything, but it's very, very devastating, very just in your face. And the thing that I really like about it is that they utilize the high and low vocals very, very well. They don't really overuse either one of them. It's like they almost know when to use them properly, I guess. At least in my mind. It's, I don't know, maybe that's a weird description, but to me, that's what it sounds like. But yeah, if you're really into chaotic music, if you're into grindcore, black metal, noise rock, I really think that you would like this. It's very short, in your face, and I think this is exactly what you might be looking for. What did you think, Erik?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. The only description I could really come up with was blackened, crusty, electronic black death.
There you go.
I guess I could take out the
perfect.
second black. So blackened, crusty, electronic death. That's what I came up with for this. But yeah, it goes a number of places, like almost an infinite amount of places. There's parts that are D beat, there's crust, there's grind, thrash to an extent at some points. It's very crisp and sort of like clear, high frequency recording for this style. Like a lot of times crust, I think, kind of relishes in sort of that lo-fi-ness of everything and that murky sort of thing. And this doesn't really do that. I think it's really trying to have the instruments heard and show how tight things are. And so that's a little bit different than other stuff I've heard, maybe in the same sort of realm. Yeah, like I said, it's very clean and technical. The playing is very tight, but there are lots of crazy broken instrument, broken amp pedal kind of sounds happening, you know. It's like almost electronic noise at certain points. And they are like interludes or at least like buffers between songs, you know.
Yeah.
And there are moments where it's almost like digital hardcore level. Like one of my favorite things about Alec Empire stuff is like a lot of the songs just sort of destroy themselves, you know, like they just get so wild and broken that they just sort of peter out into like just chaos, you know. And I hear that a lot in this recording too, where it's just like it gets to the point that what we're hearing is effectively instruments breaking is what the sound is. But yeah, like I was saying, it's not as doomy and sort of dark and foggy, you know, like a lot of stuff is. This is really kind of upbeat, even though it is really heavy. It doesn't bring me down. I don't know how to describe that. But yeah, it kind of creates its own sort of world, and you're just kind of there for 17 minutes, like truly immersed for 17 minutes. And that's pretty cool. I had fun listening to it. I'm not as big into extreme metal as I sometimes pretend to be, like, because I'm a huge poser. But I'm not, this isn't what I listen to all the time, for sure. And but this is really different. I think it has a lot of elements that separate it from other extreme metal. So yeah, like Dan said, I would say if you're into kind of high energy, crusty black metal stuff, but also like that sort of glitch element to it all too, I think you'll really enjoy it. So
yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, you probably would be more into extreme metal for real if you hadn't just discovered Metallica from
Right.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's I got a long way to go, I'm starting to realize. I mean, just with Metallica, I didn't know they had I thought that was a new single, so I didn't even realize that was from an album. It's
If I were
also
you, I would-
called Master of Puppets.
If I were you, I'd go out and check out their album Reload.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I would start with.
Mhm. And that one has really cool cover art, right?
It has really cool cover art.
That's
exactly.
Totally fucking disgusting.
No, not at all. Is that the one that they use semen for?
Oh man.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. What in the? I want to know.
And then they called the record Load. I mean,
Yeah,
they're really
Load
fucking
and
gross.
Reload, yeah.
That is gross. Dude.
I actually want to know. I wish that I would have been working for their record company at that time, because I would have loved to have been at the meeting where the band decided that. Because I mean, there's no way Metallica thought of that on their own, did they?
Well, it's so gross. I mean, it's just like,
yeah,
it's like, hey, I'm James Hetfield. I know I'm fucking 40, but people really want to think about my loads. Like, fuck no, they don't. It's nasty. You're nasty.
To be fair, all throughout rock history and rap history, to be honest, there's been that kind of level of, you know, I mean, yeah. Look at like Mick Jagger, you know, like
he used the semen in his record cover.
No, but obviously, you know, the Rolling Stones they sung about sexual things.
They are nasty.
Time.
And
they are nasty.
My favorite thing, I just heard it yesterday, was Start Me Up. At the end of that song, he starts singing, she'll make a dead man come.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's so gross. He says it twice.
So they were influenced by Weekend at Bernie's. Like everything in the 80s was influenced by that damn movie.
Or maybe people are just into necrophilia a lot more.
Necrophilia and cocaine. Beaches, you know, beach houses. I mean, the 80s was the decade
beach mausoleums.
Beach mausoleums. They were definitely murders. You know, murder. The 80s was the decade of decadence. I mean, Motley Crue told us that.
That's true.
But I was also going to say, since we're talking about songs and we shouldn't be. We really should be reviewing your pick.
I know.
But real quick, I did find out, since we're talking about songs that, did you know that Summer of 69 is not about the summer of 1969? It's actually about a sexual position.
Yeah, 69, dude.
But none of the lyrics, the lyrics don't indicate
he says, the first line is, I ate my first real.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Canceled. So what was your what was your pick, Eric?
All right, so my pick. This is one of the few times where I actually heard something on the radio, and then decided, "Whoa, I'm gonna review that." Maybe this is the only time, to be honest. But yeah, they played it on the 89.7 station up here in Iowa City, and I thought, wow, that's pretty good. It's right up my alley. The group is called King Hannah. The record's called I'm Not Sorry, I Was Just Being Me. Came out this year of our Lord 2022. They are from Liverpool. It consists of Craig Whittle and Hannah Merrick. Wonder if she's really related to Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man. Probably not, because I don't think he had any children. Okay, so anyway, welcome to History of the Elephant Man with Dan and Erik.
He started out as a young kid.
Yeah, as a young elephant boy. Stupid. Okay. So anyway, King Hannah. Yeah, it's this record, they know exactly what they want to do, and they do it. I have as a description sort of like slinky, twangy, atmospheric, indie rock. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. And here I'll get to the crux of this whole thing. King Hannah wear their influences not just on their sleeve, but right out there. It's like almost too much. And I don't want this to sound like a negative review, but honestly, if you like PJ Harvey or Portishead or the Bad Seeds, Chris Isaac, Mazzy Star, Julie Cruz, stuff in that vein, this is 100% it. Super well done, super good. But yeah, at a certain point, I don't know if influence kind of becomes like, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say they're copying any of this, but it's just very much what it is. They were like, we love these 3 or 4 bands, and we're going to make songs just like they make. And so like, there are songs on here that if someone said, this is the new PJ Harvey, I'd say, okay, yep. Or this is the new Portishead. I'd be like, yeah, it kind of sounds like they're going back to the first record kind of stuff. Like it just is almost too on the nose, which is weird because this record actually checks so many boxes of things that I love. I really like what they do here, and it's really well done, perfectly done. I don't know how to do this review, because what it comes down to is I really liked it and I think it's super cool, but I just think the influences are a little too prominent. And the thing about that too, though, is like when we were talking about Metallica and new generations and stuff, I have to remember that these are young people making music, probably for other young people. Okay. So they're finding things that they like from the past and updating it and turning it into their own thing. And that can't be a negative thing. But anyway, on to the music, real heavy on the guitar, twang, lots of reverb, tremolo, really nice overdriven tube kind of tones. Yeah, the guitars sound amazing. All the music sounds amazing. Vocally, like I said, very much in the vein of PJ Harvey, Hope Sandoval from Mazzy Star, Beth Gibbons. But also I do think Hannah Merrick does have her own sound vocally. And so I don't want this to sound like I'm saying these guys just sound like other people. If you like all that stuff, it is a slam dunk that you're going to like this. I mean, because it's so influenced. Yeah. And so I don't want that to sound negative, because at the end of the day, I really enjoyed the record. And if you like the stuff I mentioned, you're going to like it too. And it's just because the influences are right there front and center, but it's really well done. And you can tell that they love that music. They're not just taking without any reciprocity, but it's super good. I think it's great. And I would suggest, if you like that stuff, that you give it a listen. What'd you think, Dan?
Yes, I also thought that it was really good. I may have a slightly different perspective on what it specifically sounds like to me. Maybe that's because I'm maybe not as well, with the exception of PJ Harvey. I'm not as familiar with a lot of the things that you compared it to, but I found some other things, interestingly enough, and I'll get to that.
Yeah.
That I thought, musically anyway, the music itself to me was, I would kind of describe it as like a very kind of bluesy, almost like Americana-ish at times. I don't know. I don't know. That kind of is, I'm kind of hesitant to use the word Americana, but there are times where it definitely reminds me of that, but on like sort of like atmospheric, repetitive post rock. And when I say repetitive, I mean that they use space in the songs very well. The thing that I really liked about this, to me, is that the songs are very centered around a rhythm. Like, so heavy on the bass, heavy on like the floor toms and things like that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the drums, but then these different sounds from other instruments kind of creep in, whether it's, I don't know, I think I heard a little bit of organ in there. Guitars, there's some really great sounds that come in. So there's always this like really interesting buildup. And it's either builds up to like almost like sound collages, or maybe even like a key change every now and then. And then like there's this one song, I don't remember which one it was, but it had a horn with effects that totally just like, and you almost had to be listening. I think it was a horn with effects. I could be wrong. Could have totally been something else. That's what it sounded like to me. And it blew my mind, like listening to that, because I was just like, what is this? Yeah. It's early on in the record. I'm not sure if you caught on to that or not, Eric.
Yeah, I don't know if I know the exact moment.
It's really subtly in the background. Like you really kind of have to be, because I listen to everything that we review, I listen to on headphones. And I'm far from an audiophile, like that, Eric. You're more into like, I think, production and things like that than I am. But that one part, I was just like, I honestly had to go back and listen to it a couple of times, because I was like, this is blowing my mind, whatever they're using right now. But I really liked the structure of the songs, because they were based on repetitiveness, but also like changes throughout. I think that they really do a good job of utilizing different sounds and stuff like that throughout, like over top of like the main rhythm. And then kind of like it changes, the song then changes course and goes, kind of turns into something else for a little bit. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that I really liked about it. It's got very delicate production. I think the production is great. Some great reverb and tremolo. Awesome. Like you said, some great twang. The drums are very focused on, like I mentioned before, the toms, and there really isn't a lot of snare being used like throughout, which I think is really good, because I think that suits the music and what they're going for really well. But there's some the vocals are amazing. I will say I do have a couple of very minor gripes. There is one song that the guy sings in, right, and I do have to say I definitely prefer Hannah's voice. I mean, that not that it's bad. I kind of thought like, while that song was going on, like if Hannah was doing vocals on this song, I wonder, you know, what it would sound like.
Yeah.
And that's not a diss at him because it's really, really, it's done really well. That song in particular. I just prefer Hannah's vocals. So that one song, and that's such a minor, that's not even, I wouldn't even call it a gripe because I'm not really saying that I don't like it. I just, you know, I really think Hannah's vocals are just really that superb. And then the other minor thing that I would say I didn't necessarily care for about a couple of songs on the record, there are times where it does get a little jammy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like where, I don't know, like there's one song that was like 8 minutes long where I kind of feel like it may have been more effective to cut it off at around the 5 minute mark for me, but that's totally not, you know, obviously they wanted to keep that part in there for a reason. And sometimes those parts are there for a reason. And so maybe I just need to listen to it again. And, you know, because I kind of felt that way about like Lonesome Crowded West by Modest Mouse when I first heard it. You know, I was like, yeah, these songs are interesting, but they kind of drag on a little bit. And then you listen to it more and more and you realize, well, okay, that's totally what makes this great, you know?
Right.
So that would be maybe the only couple, you know, the only thing that I would say that I would gripe about a little bit. But again, it's minor and it doesn't affect the quality of the album at all. So that's just a couple things that, you know, maybe were not suited to my taste personally. But, you know, I would say that if you're a fan of, like Erik said, PJ Harvey, I definitely do hear the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds type thing, sort of. But I also think there were parts of this, and this might sound kind of weird, that really sounded like Fiona Apple to me.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Now, musically, not that I think that they necessarily sounded like it, but it kind of invoked the same sort of feeling to me. Queens of the Stone Age. Not the album that we reviewed, Rated R, so much, but there are later albums from Queens of the Stone Age where they sort of invoke that sort of atmospheric, like take a little bit on song. I mean, it's a little bit heavier than this, but just the feeling of it. Like this kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, driving through the desert or something at night.
Yeah, I think there's a definite sort of, you said Americana.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that, sorry to interrupt, but I think that term has started to mean specifically things like Wilco or
exactly
old 97s or like, you know, country-fied things or whatever. Sometimes Americana to me means the feeling of open space in America.
Exactly.
If that makes any sense. Like driving through the Southwest or driving through the South. Like I can hear Mississippi in this. I know they're from Liverpool.
Yeah.
But it definitely has like long stretch of a highway through America loneliness to it, you know? And I think that's cool. So.
Exactly. That's kind of why I would compare it to Queens of the Stone Age, because that's also in a much different way how I would describe like Queens to somebody. Also, the music of Mark Lanigan. I heard a lot of that in this. And then also another group that I don't think has ever been mentioned. There were parts of this that really had that 90s sort of almost like trip hop vibe meets like indie rock. Right. And so one band that encompassed that, at least on their first record, was Eels to me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so I kind of heard some of that going on here. But overall, it was a really interesting, well done. I could definitely see where you're, you know, like PJ Harvey, I think is hands down the one artist that if you're a fan of PJ Harvey, I really see no reason why you wouldn't be a fan of this.
Right.
Like at all.
And I should say, I feel bad. I don't want to say that I think that these guys are just ripping other people off. I don't think it's nefarious on any level.
Right.
I think they just love certain things so much that it comes through.
It comes through
to a really strong extent.
Exactly.
And another, I'm sorry to keep interrupting
No,
your
that's okay.
portion of the review, but it's kind of cool on Spotify. King Hannah actually has a profile, and they have a public playlist that's called a well-made playlist. And it literally is all, it seems to be all of the things that influence them. It's like 13 hours long, this playlist, but it's all like, you know, John Prine and Nico and Kurt Vile. And I mean, it's literally PJ Harvey, Portishead, everything that influences them in a playlist that they made. So it's
Cool.
like, I don't like, I'm not saying they're being nefarious or like trying to pull one over on us. They're very open about what they love. And that's awesome. I don't want it to come off like I don't appreciate that. It's just every once in a while. It's like, that's a heavy homage, you know?
Yeah. Anybody who's into any of the stuff that Erik and I mentioned should definitely check this out.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
You're gonna love it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the local review.
It does. Yeah. So the local review this week, this episode, we're going to talk about Glass Ox. We're going to talk about the record Out of Your Mind, came out in 2020, and the single Rogue Sons that just came out. And the only reason we're really including that is I think it's going to be probably kind of a precursor to the new album that's supposed to be coming out in the fall. So it'll give us a little insight into what might be coming on that album. So anyway, Glass Ox is kind of a Des Moines / Marshalltown deal, I think. I only know one member, Bo Becker. He's in Modern Life is War and Land of Blood and Sunshine. And I've only met Bo a few times, and he seemed like a very quiet kind of guy. On this record, he does not seem like a quiet kind of guy. But we'll get into that. Rounding out the group is Javi Rodriguez on drums and Matthias Kina on bass. Yeah, so Glass Ox. I had a ton of fun listening to this. I thought it was a really interesting take on just heavy music in general. I'd have a hard time putting this into any real solid category. It's mostly just like heavy rock, I guess. Really intense stuff, but somehow really fun within that intensity. Musically, I don't know. It goes a lot of places, and a lot of places that don't seem necessarily like they would work together, but I think they absolutely do. I think there's a real heavy sort of Jesus Lizard kind of feel to some of it. What was that record label Jesus Lizard was on?
Touch and Go.
Yeah. So Touch and Go has a sound from what I've heard. I don't listen to a lot of bands on there, but I've always heard this touch and go sound kind of idea. And I would say that sort of applies here, at least my understanding of it. But I would also say there's elements of Nirvana. There's some unabashed grunge going on here, but there's also some really like straightforward kind of heavier stuff, like played straight is what I mean, like Motorhead. And then there's a little like proto thrash elements at times, like Diamond Head, but then also some 80s hair elements like Motley Crue. And this is all I'm just talking about the music. So like I said, I think that's just kind of an amalgamation of heavier things, but it doesn't come off to me as extreme or whatever. It just comes off as wound up, just kind of with some energy, you know. Vocally, I think Bo, like I said, meeting him and knowing him as sort of a quiet dude, it's surprising what the vocals sound like. They're really intense and really cool. It's somewhere between maybe like Venom and Al Jorgensen from Ministry. Like it's sort of shouted. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a melody or musicality, but it just has a sort of shouted element to it, which is super fun and kind of plays back into the Jesus Lizard element of it, or even Motorhead or whatever. Like the delivery of the vocals has that sort of feeling to it. And then the background vocals and even some of the main vocals, like on the last track of the record, they actually reminded me a lot of Big Business or Fugazi, like sort of slightly out of tune harmonies. Really, really cool though. I loved the vocals on the whole thing. So yeah, super fun mix of styles. I think to the point that it truly sounds like a singular vision instead of just a hodgepodge of these elements. I think that the influences are there to be seen, but it's only as sort of glue for this sort of singular idea. And I think it comes off as really, really cool. The Rogue Sons single to me just sounded maybe a little more epic and a little more slightly with a little more drone to it, or at least moments of downtime, sludginess, I guess. But I would check out the record, and I'm really excited for the new record coming out in the fall. Glass Ox is going to be at the Gas Lamp on August 12th, and I think that you should go see them. And if you don't, at least listen to this record because it's really cool. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I also had a blast listening to this record. In a weird sort of way, it was like future nostalgia to me.
Yeah.
Because it had a very familiar sound on one hand, something that kind of harkened back to when I was like in my early 20s a little bit, like the sort of hardcore indie punk stuff that was really kind of coming up from the underground around that time. But then it was also very forward thinking. So it kind of had like a future of punk sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
For a lack of a better way to describe it, the riffs were very, very cool. Musically, I thought that it was fantastic. I definitely hear the Jesus Lizard element that you heard as well, Erik. Some of it reminded me a little bit of like you said, Fugazi. But then yeah, I also heard a lot of metal. Like there's a huge metal influence on this, like all throughout, to the point where it like I almost thought they were going to go into like a metal anthem a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like with the riff. Now, vocally, your take was very interesting. I really liked that, Erik. But what he kind of reminded me of was this band that I used to listen to a long time ago called Small Brown Bike. Very gravelly, sort of almost gutter punkish.
Okay.
But with a lot of melody sort of going on as well. Yeah. And also the other guy that he reminded me of was the singer of Planes Mistaken for Stars, who just passed away, Jared. He just passed away. And honestly, like the guy's vocals, who's the singer again, Erik?
Bo Becker.
Bo Becker. His vocals reminded me a lot of Planes Mistaken for Stars, Small Brown Bike, kind of hot water music. That sort of gravelly, almost guttural, sort of like melodic punk.
Cool.
But there was also like just, this was more metallic than like those bands. Like this was just really fun. It almost gave me the feeling of like, I don't know, just like running or something. Like it was just really energetic. Like it made me want to get up and do something. You know?
Absolutely.
And but then there was also that one track that was basically like almost like a John Carpenter synth, like instrumental sort of towards the end. So there were some like, I don't know if it was synths. That one kind of almost felt like John Carpenter. So then like it kind of had like
like the big organ.
Yeah, organ
song. Yeah.
So that one
Region is the name.
Yeah, Region. That's it.
Yep.
It kind of had almost like a horror vibe to it in a way. Like it almost felt like you were entering a haunted house or something. Like it was really cool. And so yeah, this I think is like I guess the best way I would describe it is like sort of just like dark guttural punk, but like metallic. Yeah, it's really hard. Like I
Yeah.
struggle to even try and like describe it, but it definitely has at the root of it some sort of punk. I can't really find the words to completely describe it, but I think if you're a fan of Planes Mistaken for Stars, if you're a fan of, you know, Small Brown Bike, if you're a fan of the Jesus Lizard, if you're a fan of I mean, we'll even say Ministry if Ministry was not an industrial band.
Right.
You know, I think even if you're a fan a little bit of like not vocally at all, but black metal, like there was a lot of like black metal style riffs kind of going on here, you know. I think you could find something that you would like on it. I thought it was really well done.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Dark, fun, speed punk.
Dark, fun, speed punk. I think that probably is it right there.
That's what I'm coming up with.
That's actually a great description.
Cool. Shows, guys. There's some shows.
Get your shows. Hot shows. Get your shows.
Hey, why don't you win the little lady some shows? Come over here and test your luck. Tiny
shows.
It's time. It's happening. Here's the shows. All right. So Friday the 15th. This is at Gabe's in Iowa City. This is some grindy, deathy, sludgy, thrashy kind of night stuff here. Night music. Deterioration. Did I say Gabe's? Iowa City?
I think so.
Yeah, probably. Deterioration, that says they're American grindcore legends. I don't know them.
I've never
not
heard of them.
a big grindcore person. Traffic Death, you know.
Yeah.
Acoustic Guillotine, classic.
Cool.
And Night of the Living Shred from Colorado Springs thrash stuff. So big brutal show there, Friday the 15th. Low is going to be here. That's at the Raccoon Motel on July 15th. Low with Divide and Dissolve. Yeah, it's Low. And then on the 16th of July, it's a Saturday, at the Gas Lamp, we have Electro Beast and Gut Feeling, which is cool. Instantly starts playing Gut Feeling by Devo in my head, which is pretty much always playing anyway. So it just kind of amplifies it. But yeah, that should be cool. Then From Nothing House in Aledo, Illinois. I don't know where that's at.
Whoa, there's a house venue in Aledo, Illinois.
From Nothing House. So I don't know anything about that. So you'll have to get in touch with the people playing. Morbid Circle. They do dark electronic stuff. Blue Movies from the QC. Love me some Blue Movies. It looks like a real sort of happening there. So I would get a hold of Blue Movies maybe. So anyway, that's happening. Yeah, so that's cool. Mini Love, Morbid Cycle, and Blue Movies. All right, sweet. And then that same day, July 16th, Boggs Hall Avenue Tavern, which is it looks like it's in Des Moines. So it's Bomb Blast. They're from Nebraska. Punk ska core. That's cool.
Yeah.
Top Notch Defective. Skate Punk from Lincoln. The Getaways, Des Moines Punk. And Big B Wood, Des Moines Punk. And Americature, Des Moines Punk.
So some really cool names.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty sweet ass show.
Yeah, it would be.
July 17th. This is at the Gas Lamp. It is Pillars, Anthropollution, Woods, and Stars. I believe that's one group. Woods and Stars. A lot of heavy stuff. Sludge, crust, doom,
electronic.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then just in case we don't get to it, Tuesday the 19th, there's also City of the Week, the Almas, and Monica Austin. This is at the
Mhm.
Skylark. So this looks like more like rock music,
Yeah.
country kind of stuff.
Well,
So
Monica
rock and roll.
Austin lives in Muscatine,
Oh yeah,
and she's country.
cool. So
So-
this might be sort of a country rock kind of show,
Yep.
is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
So that's cool. Yeah, some good shows
Cool.
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really good. So what did we learn today? We learned that Metallica is a new band with Lou
Yeah.
Reed on vocals.
Metallica Underground.
Metallica Underground.
It's like
Dude,
Cumberbatch. Metallica Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to talk to us, I wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
But
Then you have
no,
problems.
for real though, contact us on Facebook or Instagram, the Accelerativ Thrust. And yeah. I mean, that's really all I got.
Yeah, best ending of an episode ever. Yeah.
You all have a good week.
Oh my God, we're really done. Bye.
They're not exactly punk rock, but they're a little too sad to be punk rock.